at the NACA conference. Jenks is on right now.
You guys just get to be entertained all day? Damn.
Awesome.
I want that. A lot of times I get, my first question is, how'd you get an MTV show? And I'll tell you, it all started when I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college, and I was living with, 300 strangers in a dormitory, and everyone's looking towards the future and what's next and what you're going to major in. And while that was happening, my grandfather was in a nursing home. And I was really close with my grandfather, and really close. And he was slowly, he had dementia and Alzheimer's, and he was slowly passing away. And I kept thinking, man, it'd be interesting to see what life is like on the other side of the spectrum. Freshmen in college, you're always thinking about what's next, but what would it be like to live in a nursing home? And I'd always wanted to make movies, and I just thought, well, what if I made a movie about moving in to a nursing home, like a 19-year-old moving into a nursing home? So I convinced two of my buddies to come with me and film it, and our one big, goal was to find a nursing home that would let us do it. So I just started calling random nursing homes, assisted living facilities, saying, I want to move in, I want to move in. And the actual problem wasn't the cameras. The places didn't have a problem with the cameras at all. They had a problem with that I was 19, and they just didn't get it. They're like, no, that's the whole point of assisted living, is it's for senior citizens. You're 19, it's just, we're sorry, but it's just not going to work. So I just kept calling and calling and calling, and finally, I think it was around like the 35th phone call I made. There was this one nursing home. I got in contact with the general manager, and I said, hey, I'm thinking of moving into a nursing home. Would you guys be interested? And she said, you're only 19, but yeah, I guess. That sounds pretty interesting. And I was like, great. So I should also tell you that, I'm thinking of filming it and maybe making like a documentary out of it. And she was like, yeah, that sounds good. I was like, okay. And so I was broke at the time, I'm a freshman in college. So I said, well, we're going to go down there. You wouldn't happen to have like 3 or 2 rooms available, would you? And she was like, yeah, we can do that. So I just went for it. I was like, and you serve 3 meals a day also, right? So like maybe we could get in on that. And she was all for it. And we moved in, and we were broke. So what we had to do was we bought 2 cameras off of eBay. We borrowed everything else, cameras, audio equipment, tapes, which you obviously can't return. And just went there, lived there for 5 weeks. And made a documentary, and we came back with 200 hours of footage, and I just started editing it. Like, I was obsessed, just editing nonstop, and I was so passionate, and I feel like a part of it was because in a way I was doing it for my grandfather, who it sounds cheesy, but he had passed away. And I just kept editing, and then finally I had this 90-minute movie. It was 90 minutes, and I remember thinking, I was a freshman, I was looking up at the ceiling while I was going to sleep, and I was thinking, if this gets into one film festival, or if my parents watch it and don't walk out of the room, I'll be really happy. And so I didn't have any ties to the film or TV industry, but I just started sending the film to various film festivals, just sending it, and we kept getting rejected. No, we don't know who you are, no. And finally we started to get into some. And then we started to win some. And then we started to get written about, and then HBO called, and HBO bought the movie. And then it started to play in Australia, and Norway, and Japan, and all these crazy countries. And that was the point when I first learned that you can't take the word no seriously. And from here on out, I always have learned that for me, no is almost a turn on. It's sort of like my starting point. When someone tells me I can't do it, I'm like, okay, cool, that's good. Let's start from there and go. My only advice is I wouldn't use that with girls. That gets a little tricky. So I had that wonderful opportunity, and I made another documentary. Once HBO had played that, I had a little bit of leverage, and ESPN, I had no money at the time, but ESPN gave me $1 million to go to Japan for 8 months and make a documentary about a popular American baseball manager who had moved to Japan. And he moved to Japan and became like a demigod over there because he was the first guy to win a Japan series. The first American to win a Japan series. So we get to Japan, and when I first walk into the baseball stadium where he coaches, I see on top of the scoreboard there's this little platform. And I'm like, holy cow, that would be an amazing shot. Like to get up there, have a whole beautiful shot of the stadium, the town's in the background, Tokyo's in the background, this will be perfect. And so I asked Bobby, who we were following around, if we could do it. And he said, absolutely not, you can't do that, no way. So I said, all right, that's the starting point. So we kept asking and asking and asking, and then it got to be game 5 of the division series, biggest game of the year. And my friend who was filming comes up to me, and he goes, Jenks, man, 2 innings left, there's about 30 minutes left in the game, you know, let's just do it. And I was like, you know, we've really shown Bobby that we care about Japan, that we care about his team. I feel like we've really adapted to the culture here. They respect us. Just go do it. Even though they said no, go get the shot. We'll be fine. So Jonah goes, my buddy, he goes, and he climbs up this ladder, gets to the top of the platform, and I'm in the media room. I'm eating some sushi, chilling out, and I see a bunch of Japanese reporters like hovering around this television screen. And I'm like, what are they doing? And so I walk over and I talk to one of the guys who speaks a little bit of English, and I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, oh, Jenks, you wouldn't believe this, but there's a sniper on the top of the scoreboard.
Oh, God.
I think we might evacuate the building. We're not sure yet. And I was like, no way. And then I look through everyone and I get to the television screen and my friend Jonah is sitting there with a tripod like... And literally then I look at the crowd and I see people like talking, they don't know where to go. There's people leaving the stadium. That night on television it said, you know, American reporter tries to kill people at baseball stadium. He was all over the news the next day. And we didn't even use the shot in the end. We didn't even use the shot. It just didn't work. But, you know, I think the point, what I really had learned from that experience was being able to adapt and being able to develop a sense of trust. You know what I mean? I felt like, you know, Bobby was pissed when it happened, but that night he asked to see the shot because he really wanted to see what it looked like. And I think that's really what has helped me, and definitely has helped me with the World of Jenks show, because it really means more than anything. If you trust someone, they're there for you no matter what. So let me get to the MTV show and how that all happened. Thank you for those 2 people who just yelled. So I love you too. I was making the HBO movie had come out, and MTV called me. And they said, yo, Jenks, man, we love how you moved into a nursing home. Would you be interested in maybe doing something with MTV? And in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, the Situation, Snooki, like, I want to be a filmmaker. This might be a bad career move. I probably shouldn't, you know. And they're like, no, we'll give you a chunk of money, go move in with someone, come back with the footage, and we'll see where we go from there. And so I'm like, you know, 22, and they gave me like 50 grand to like make a 5-minute trailer. So I pocketed 30 of that, took the other 20 and made the thing. And I made it and I sent it to them, and they called back and they're like, yo, Jenks, this is great, we love it. And I was like, cool. They're like, could you make it 10 minutes long? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I did that, I sent it over to them, they liked it, they called me back. Yo, Jenks, man, this is great. Could you make it 15 minutes long? It's like, yeah, sure, what the hell, I don't care. So, you know, I found some more footage, I put it together, and I sent it in. And then they called me back and they said, Jenks, you wouldn't believe it, but one of the presidents of programming just loves this whole thing. He loves how you moved in with the rapper. It was when I moved in with Mano. He just loves how you do it, the process, and that you're 22. He wants to come to your office and check out, you know, how you work. And I said, excuse me? And he said, well, the president of programming at MTV, he wants to come to your office and like see your process and how you edit and everything. And I said, okay, yeah, no, that sounds great. 1 week from Friday, fantastic. And I hung up the phone and I said, damn, I don't have an office. So the days kept on going by. I really had absolutely no plan. And then finally, the day was about to arrive, and I called up the MTV executives, and I said, hey guys, it's really strange. You wouldn't believe what happened, but I came into my office this morning, and there's a huge flood. It's unbelievable. There's water like up to my knees. You can't walk around. I don't think I'm gonna. You guys shouldn't come to my office. Let me go to you guys. I'll show you the latest footage. And they were like, no, no, no. The president, he really wants to come to you. He wants to check out your office. And I was like, yeah, but it's a flood. Like he'll get all wet. It's a bad idea. And they were like, no, no, no. And I was like, but no, it won't work. And they were like, we want to come. And I was like, no. And they were like, we want to come. And so finally, I was like, all right, why don't you just come to my apartment? And I can, I'll put some of the footage on my laptop, which is what I was really editing from. And I'll show you guys, the process. And so they were like, yeah, that sounds great. I was like, oh, I was really hoping that wouldn't sound great. So they were planning on coming, and I have 4 dude roommates who walk around with like their boxers on, and the place stinks of a lot of different things. And so I call up a friend of mine, an unemployed friend named Troy. Come to think of it, he's still unemployed. And I said, yo man, I'll give you $20 if you come to my apartment tomorrow at 10 a.m. and act as if you're my intern. And he said, what? And I said, listen, I need to act like, we're more professional. Like, I know we have the talent, we made this great pilot, but like, we need to be professional. So would you mind just wearing a suit? I'll give you $20. And he said, why would I do that? I said, dude, you're unemployed. Come on, let's just do it. So he came. And they came at 10 in the morning, just as they said, and I walked them past one of my roommates who had his boxers on with a girl on the couch, and I said, don't mind them, they're just hanging out. We went to my room, and I started to show them the footage. And as they're watching the footage, there's a knock on the door, and the 2 executives were on like my bed, like just sitting there. And I'm like on the laptop going like, yeah, check out this scene. Oh, and then there's this scene. And they're just like on the bed. So finally there's a knock on the door. And it's my friend Troy. And he walks in and he goes, excuse me, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but can I get anyone some orange juice, coffee, maybe a donut perhaps? And in my head I'm thinking, oh good God, we don't have orange juice, we don't have donuts. Oh, we have tap water at the very best. I don't even know if that's cold. And they kind of look at each other and they're like, no, we're okay, thank you. And then they looked over at me and they said, Jenks, do you have an intern? And I looked over at them and I go, of course I have an intern. And that was when I started to learn that and then that exact video ended up playing on the VMAs and was like, 5 million people watched it. And it was at that point that I kind of came to the idea of faking it till you make it. And especially now, this day and age, when it's hard to come by a job, you gotta fake it till you make it sometimes. And it works. And I've learned that more than anything. And I've especially learned that with the 12 different experiences I had on World of Jenks, where you just can't take no for an answer. You have to be able to adapt, and sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it. And experiencing everything from a young man with autism to a homeless girl to a rapper or a cheerleader, those are kind of the principles that I live by. So with 1 second left, I'd like to thank you guys very much. Have a nice day. I'll be in the CAA booth for like an hour or two, at the CAA booth right over there or something.